Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really special. We're unpacking Dr. Matthias Kabede's incredibly pragmatic guide from mediocrity to audacity. Look, whether you've just graduated and you're feeling a bit, lost in the woods, or maybe you're trying to navigate the unique hurdles of emerging markets like Ethiopia, This Explainer is built to help you completely bypass those traditional barriers and literally own your future. We've all been fed this idea that the system is totally fixed, right? That there's only one narrow path to success. But what if those walls in front of you aren't roadblocks at all? What if they're actually invitations to build something totally new?
Okay, let's dive right into this, because the idea we're tackling first, it hits hard. It absolutely shatters the biggest myth we've been told about education. Think about it. We grew up believing this really specific story. You work hard, you pass your exams, you get your degree, and boom, the C's part and your path is clear. Well, actually, scratch that. A university degree is not a magic wand. Sure, it might get your foot in the door, it gets you in the room, but the world is moving so fast right now, and it demands way more than just a piece of paper. So this explainer, it's all about your journey from waiting on that fixed system to building real, unstoppable agency.
So here's our roadmap for the next few minutes. We're going to climb a sort of mindset to action ladder together. We'll hit why the certificate isn't enough, mindset over mediocrity, essential skills for tomorrow, navigating money and networks, bypassing the broken system, and finally, building an audacious life.
Let's kick things off with Section 1. The certificate is not enough. Consider this the wake-up call.
So, imagine that deeply relatable, honestly kind of uncomfortable moment when you're holding your brand new certificate and suddenly it hits you. Nothing feels different. The world hasn't fundamentally changed. Well, that right there is when your real education actually kicks off. Take David's story, for example. David graduated from Hawassa University, degree in management, landed a job in Addis, and then, for 2 years, he just coasted. You know the drill. His salary barely budged, every single day felt exactly the same. So one day, he sits down and decides to list every single new skill he'd acquired since graduation. Do you know it took him just 4 minutes to write down a grand total of 3 things? 3! That brutal, honest self-assessment totally flipped the script for him. He stopped coasting, jumped into a free online data analysis course, and get this, within a year, he was heading up an entirely new function at his company.
Now, what's really interesting here is the contrast. See, mediocrity, it isn't just laziness. It's playing it safe. It's warm, it's cozy, and it involves a lot of waiting around for someone else to give you permission. Audacity, though, that is a daily practice. And let's be clear, it is not about being fearless. No way. The most audacious people out there fail all the time, they feel the uncertainty, but the key is they act anyway. You don't wait for confidence to magically appear. You build it by actually taking action.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mindset over Mediocrity. This is all about laying that internal foundation.
Look, before any fancy strategy or practical tool is going to work for you, you've got to get your mind right. Your strategy basically runs on the operating system of your mindset. Psychologist Carol Dweck spent literally decades digging into this, and it really boils down to 2 core beliefs. First, the fixed mindset. That's the voice saying, "Oh, I'm just not that type of person," or "I'm not a math person." It treats a failure as the end of the road, final. But a growth mindset, it flips that. It says, "Okay, I haven't mastered this yet." To a growth mindset, failure isn't the end. It's just really useful data. It's information. I'd highly encourage you to look at your own life and try to spot those sneaky fixed mindset excuses, because honestly, those excuses are quietly locking doors you didn't even know were open. And a massive chunk of that mental foundation is emotional intelligence. Just look at Salam. She had stellar grades, she was brilliant at the technical stuff, but she actually lost a big promotion to a coworker who had a lower GPA and way less experience. Why on earth did that happen? Because her coworker knew how to listen. He stayed calm under pressure, and he actively built trust. He had high emotional intelligence. The good news? You can start building that professional trust literally today with 3 quick micro steps. Number 1, try the 2-second pause before you react to anything. Number 2, actually name the specific emotion you're feeling. And number 3, always ask questions before you jump to the worst possible conclusion about someone else's motives.
All right, Section 3, Essential Skills for Tomorrow. Let's start assembling your Audacity toolkit.
So once your mind is right, you need a solid toolkit of the actual practical skills that employers are desperate for right now. Which brings us to this number, 70%. What do you think this massive chunk represents? I'll give you a hint. It is probably not where you think it is.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what that is, the 70-20-10 rule of professional development.
Get this, only 10% of your real professional growth comes from formal courses and training. 20% comes from learning through mentors and your peers. But a staggering 70% comes from actually rolling up your sleeves and doing challenging work. You've got to stop passively waiting for the perfect training module to drop into your inbox. If you seriously want to grow, you have to actively hunt for those stretch assignments, projects that push you just a little bit outside of your comfort zone.
Now, a huge part of surviving those stretch assignments is learning how to truly think for yourself. The thing is, traditional schooling usually rewards us for just accurately remembering facts rather than original problem solving. That leaves us pretty uncomfortable when things get ambiguous. So, to build up your independent critical thinking, try using the 5 whys technique. It's super simple but incredibly effective. You define a problem and then you literally ask why 5 times in a row. It forces you to peel back those superficial symptoms and get right down to the root cause. Once you're there, you can generate real options and make much clearer decisions.
On to Section 4, Money, Networks, and Opportunity. Time to navigate reality.
So, navigating the real world means getting crystal clear about your finances. We have to talk about money, mostly because it's almost never taught to us properly. Here's a highly actionable financial check you can start right this minute. For the next 30 days, track every single expense, every penny, every bear. Then, categorize them, needs versus wants. Finally, calculate the gap between the two. That gap, that is your freedom fund. You really want to dodge destructive debt that just finances a flashy lifestyle. Instead, look into smart vehicles like the eCube, which is a traditional Ethiopian cooperative to start building wealth and community trust at the exact same time, even on a smaller income. Now, having financial clarity gives you the breathing room to build your network. But networking requires real, deliberate action. Think about the passive intern. They just quietly complete their tasks and try to avoid being seen. But the active intern, they're asking for real work. They are observing exactly how decisions are being made, and they leave that internship with a solid portfolio and genuine relationships. This ties perfectly into the Ethiopian coffee principle. Real networking isn't about awkwardly shoving business cards at people at an event. It's about sitting down over a cup of coffee and organically building genuine trust over time.
Section 5. Bypassing the broken system. It's time to start creating your own doors.
Look, if you're one of the 9 out of 10 people who never made it to a traditional university, I need you to hear this. The lack of a formal degree is just a structural barrier. It is absolutely not a verdict on your potential. So the crucial point here is that you've got to build your own doors entirely outside of that traditional system. And you can absolutely do that using alternative credentials. We're talking massive open online courses from places like Coursera or Google, vocational TVET qualifications, specific professional certifications, and honestly, above all else, a strong digital portfolio of your actual work. If you take charge and build a self-directed learning plan, these alternative credentials carry serious, undeniable weight with modern employers.
Let me anchor this with a fantastic real-world story. Think about Burahai, a logo designer based in Dire Dawa. Burahai didn't go to some fancy, expensive design school. Nope. He hit up YouTube tutorials to teach himself Canva and Illustrator. He set up a profile on Fiverr, and guess what? Within just 2 years, he was making more money from that than his government day job. And he did it with 0 startup costs. The digital economy is basically the ultimate equalizer. The internet genuinely does not care about your zip code or your address. It literally only cares about the quality of your output. And finally, Section 6, building an audacious life. Let's wrap up with resilience and purpose. Living an audacious life isn't a quick sprint. It's a marathon. It demands serious, long-term resilience and the strategy for fighting off the natural decay of your skills. Let's talk about a slightly terrifying concept called competence fade. Simply put, the technical skills you have right now, they're going to lose their market value in just 3 to 5 years if you aren't deliberately updating them. The cutting-edge tools that make you super valuable today are going to be absolute entry-level requirements tomorrow. So continuous, structured, lifelong learning, especially learning to adapt to AI tools as your personal 24/7 tutor, is basically your only real career insurance policy. And look, as you push forward and take these risks, you are absolutely going to fail at some point. It's inevitable. There's this famous Princeton professor who actually published a CV of failures just to show the world how many brutal rejections paved the way to his success. You have to build a personal resilience practice to normalize those setbacks. When you fail, feel the emotion. That's human. But then move. Extract whatever lesson you can before you let the experience go. Keep your perspective wide and stay deeply connected to your community. Remember, failure is not a dead end. It's literally just another necessary, sometimes sweaty step on the ladder up. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one really provocative question to chew on. What would you do right now if you truly believed in your own potential? Because honestly, inspiration without action is just entertainment. So I'm passionately urging you, take one specific, audacious action in the next 24 hours. Go sign up for that free course, send a message to that mentor you admire, or just finally write down that business idea that's been floating in your head. Your audacity isn't some final destination, it's a direction. Start walking. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.